training series. So we're going to bring some different topics. We'll do 3 different things. We'll do the first one coming up in April will be, we're going to do what do you have in your hand? So the book, Boss Like God, we'll do a seminar on that. There's copies available at the back. But it's a sweep of the Old Testament, and the question is, how did God treat his employees? So I've been an employer for decades, and I read leadership books like crazy, and finally I said, well, how did God treat his employees? Which basically, how many people in the Old Testament were God's employees? Everybody was God's employee. So the book looks at how did God find people, how did he hire them, how did he manage them, how did he fire people in some cases, and in one case rehire them, and how did he do transitions of leadership. So next session, it'll be April the 25th. We're delaying it a week because of Easter, and it'll be on Friday at the Bible Seminary. And we're going to talk about some of that things. And God often, when people say, I don't know what to do, I can't do it, or whatever, God often says, what do you have in your hand? So we're going to talk about that, give you some scriptural examples and some very practical examples of how we do leadership and how you can lead in your business. It's applicable across any industry, so we'll be talking about that. The key takeaway is God wants to use you where you are, but he's always preparing you for where he wants you to be. So we're going to dive into some scriptures that really illustrate that principle. The second thing in May, which will be May the 16th, we're going to talk about communication. A lot of people use the internet. We've got our phones. We've got all kinds of things. We're trying to do marketing, advertising. So years ago, back in the 80s, I started working on computers and then computer programming, and then ended up doing a dissertation and studying for 3 years and starting a communications company 29 years ago, about the internet. It was new. People didn't know how to use it. So I did a project for 3 or 4 years. I worked with over 400 companies across the U.S., 33 flagship companies. We were asking questions. What is the internet? How do people use it? How do we do websites? How do we communicate? How do we do business? And so that's what you're going to get a taste of that, and we'll talk about those things. And we're actually going to start at the beginning of time. We're going to talk about how God communicated throughout history, how Christians have communicated throughout history, and often been leaders in many of the technologies that we use, because what are we trying to tell? We have a great message. We have a message that we're trying to get out, but those lessons are applicable to us in business and education and ministry, whatever we're doing. So we're going to talk about that. The key takeaway is from Nehemiah when he's building a wall, and people keep trying to distract him and get him in trouble. He says, I have a great project, I cannot go down. And most of us are here because we had a business or a product or a service. We had a great project, and we were going to talk about how do we focus on it. And I'll give you some really cool tools and information about that. So super fun. And then in June, we're going to do some celebration. Among the Katy Christian Chamber in our community, we've got incredible, amazing stories. So we're going to highlight some people. I know we do highlights each month or so when we meet. But we're going to highlight some really cool things that you guys are doing and among our chamber and in the community that are really awesome. And I'm kind of as an example of something we might do on a regular basis where we celebrate the best of Katy, Texas. My company was celebrating the best of America. We're highlighting things across the country. So I'm going to bring that to Katy and just celebrate and tell some great stories. And the coolest thing is how God is working in our lives. Amen. And how God has gifted us, and he has trained us and given us opportunity. And we're able to just glorify him in so many different ways in so many different industries. And we want to highlight that in June. So that'll be June the 20th. And the key takeaway is whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. And God will bless you. All right? Thank you. Cool.